Well, the Angels offseason is really your fault. And really, we're going to take some of the blame too. It's kind of our fault. Last year, we begged them to stop striking out and put the ball in play. So this year, they listened and maybe they overcorrected.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and the #1 sports podcast network in all the land because of you. Thanks for being here. And today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your Profit Boost Pack every NFL playoff game.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, we're talking Angels baseball with you 3 times a week until early February. Then we'll ramp back up to 5 days a week, per usual, as we do during the season. But before we get there, Mike, we hope that all of our fans and everydayers leave here a smarter baseball fan, a more informed fan, and are able to talk a little baseball with their buddies and you know, have a thesis statement, I guess you could say. And our thesis statement today is, if you hated the Angels offense last year, congratulations, you might have gotten exactly what you asked for. And you might be saying that the Angels offseason makes 0 sense until you realize they're reacting, not planning. Last season, we all screamed about the all or nothing at bats, too many strikeouts, not enough contact. Now, the Angels offseason looks like a direct response to that. Mike, why don't you set the stage for us?
Yeah, let me, first of all, calm everybody down. We're not actually blaming you or saying it's your fault or our fault that the Angels offseason is going the way that it's going. But just like you, our everydayers, we reacted to how terrible the Angels offense was last year. And the Angels are doing a lot of reacting this offseason. So, Johnny, explain what we mean.
Yeah, here's what we mean. Remember, let me take you back to the 2024 Angels. Worst record in franchise history. Mike Trout played like 29 games, and that was it. The team had just lost Ohtani. They didn't do much over that offseason. Willie Calhoun was the primary DH that season. Is that ringing any bells? Remember 2024, not a great season. But here's something that we need to remember. That team had an 8.1% walk rate, good for 15th in the league. Their strikeout rate was 23.7%, 19th in the league. Not great, but not the worst like it was in 25. Stolen bases, 12th in the league. They had 133 that season. But the one thing they didn't do that well in 2024 was slugging. The team slugging percentage was .369, the third worst in the league. That means not a lot of doubles, not a lot of triples, not a lot of home runs. So what did the Angels do? Well, they responded, and they responded hard. They traded Griffin Canning to the Braves for Jorge Soler. And at the time, Jorge Soler is coming off a season where he hit .241, had a .356 on base, a .442 slugging. So that's definitely going to improve your team slugging, and a .780 OPS. So pretty good stat line. He actually finished the season in Atlanta, Mike, where he played all the games in the outfield, by the way, with a .493 slugging for the Braves. 21 home runs, 64 RBI, 34 doubles, and 1 triple. Not only did they add Soler to address the lack of slugging that season, but the entire Angels approach fundamentally changed in 2025, didn't it, Mike?
Yeah, their slugging percentage in 2024 was .369, and their slugging percentage in 2025 was .397. They hit the 4th most home runs in baseball, but we all know what went wrong. No 2-strike approach, an all or nothing at bat, worst K percentage in the league, and the most strikeouts in franchise history, the second most all time, 1,627 strikeouts for this team last year.
Is that number burned in your brain?
I have it tattooed on my butt. No.
You lose a dare?
yeah. The Angels dare. So it wasn't just add a player that solves our slugging issue. It was fundamentally change everything the Angels do at the plate. It was a huge overcorrection and a huge overreaction led by Johnny Washington as the hitting coach and Perry Minasian's front office philosophy.
Yeah. Okay. Don't miss this, everydayers. Lean in. Look at me. In order to fix what they saw as a problem, the pendulum swung the complete other way for 2025. And they're doing it again. So what are they doing exactly? Well, before we tell you, let me just be clear about a few things. Again, this isn't your fault. It's not our fault. But we also know that we saw the problems on the field, and so did the Angels. This offseason is not going away the way we want it to because, obviously, the Arte Moreno factor, cutting payroll, the restructuring of Rendon's contract, the TV issues with their contract and whatnot. So know that that is what encapsulates this whole conversation.
That's the snow globe, right?
We know the issues that the Angels actually have, but it doesn't change the fact that they are swinging the pendulum and overcorrecting again, aren't they, Mike?
Yeah, if we look closer at the kinds of bats that the Angels have picked up, we can easily see what they're trying to do. The Angels are swinging the pendulum in the opposite direction that they did last year. For a team, the Angels team that had the second highest whiff rate, that's swing and miss, in all of baseball, made the second lowest contact in the zone, and swung at the first pitch at a fifth highest rate in all of baseball, the front office has picked up several bats with high contact, low swing and miss profile. So, for example, in Vaughn Grissom's career, he has an above average contact, an above average contact in the zone, above average swing and miss, meaning he swings and misses less than the league average, and an above average strikeout rate. John, he's not the only one that the Angels have picked up. They picked up a former top draft pick in Nick Madrigal, and he's very similar, maybe even better than Vaughn Grissom in some of those categories, right?
Yeah, in Nick Madrigal's career, he's got way above average contact rates. He makes good contact compared to the rest of the league, way above average in the zone contact rates, and way above average swing and miss, just 3.8% swing and miss compared to the league average over his career, which has been about 11.2 or so. Wade Meckler, guy who is kind of the same story, but down in AAA, high contact, low swing and miss. So again, in 2024, they were one of the worst slugging teams in Major League Baseball. So they add Soler, they emphasize power, but they were terrible in contact, situational hitting, and striking out. So how do they respond? They add a bunch of high contact, low whiff guys for 2026. But because it's the Angels, because it's Arte Moreno and he's still the owner, they do it on the cheap. And the bottom line here is that this is not roster construction. It's reacting. It's whiplash, isn't it, Mike?
Yeah. They're just seeing what they did wrong, and they're going and getting all the players that don't do those wrong things, and they're bringing them on our team, and they're not doing it and spending money. They're doing it and trying to get peanuts and turn it into peanut butter. Like, they're trying to make this team a whole lot better with players that are probably not going to make this team a whole lot better. What I'm learning about the Perry Minasian years is that we are on a teeter-totter with him. And one season we're up in these areas, but we're down in these areas. Okay, we have to figure that out. And so we go up in these areas and we go down in the other areas. And that's exactly what's going to happen with this team. Over and over and over again, what we've seen in our comments and what we've heard from our everydayers is, pitching. We need pitching. And by the way, we'll talk about pitching and how that's kind of been the same approach. But when it comes to the offense, this team needs bats. you traded away your best offensive player for a pitcher with potential. I get it. And years of control, who has been hurt, but if he can be healthy and be in that starting rotation, this guy could be great for the Angels. But you need bats too. You need to score some runs. The Angels need to prevent runs, but they do need to score some runs. And how many games did we watch, John, them not score runs for their pitching staff, and then suddenly they exploded for runs? That's what happens when you are on a teeter-totter. That's what happens when you react or really react or overreact to what you were doing wrong. And what Perry is doing is he's reacting to what they did wrong last year and bringing in players that are the exact opposite. No power, high contact, probably are going to get on base, but he's bringing in players that haven't done it at the major league level successfully almost never, right? And so that's the strategy. That's the game plan. Do it on the cheap. Let's get these guys to come in and see if we can fix our problems on the cheap with guys who have a lot of potential, with teammates who could be good for us, but there's no guarantee.
Now, you might be asking yourself, what's so bad about adding guys that are high contact, low whiff? And what do you mean that this is a bad thing? Well, we're going to tell you exactly what we mean. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up, we'll tell you why reacting doesn't work and what all of this means for the team in 2026. And we'll get into that in just a minute.
The NFL playoffs are in full swing, and they are really exciting. And FanDuel is officially a part of playoff mode with the NFL. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers more ways to get in on all of the action. Right now, every NFL playoff game, FanDuel has this offer called the Profit Boost Pack. It's waiting for you inside of the FanDuel app. Each game, you're going to see this pack loaded with multiple profit boosts that you can apply to the bets that you like the most. So you open up the Profit Boost Pack first thing when you are on game day as you open up the game or the FanDuel app, and then you're going to see what boost you want to apply. It lets you lean into your game day instincts. Maybe you're backing some momentum, or there's defense, or there's quarterback play, or there's coaching. You make your picks, then you apply your profit boost to go after an even bigger payout while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your Profit Boost Pack every NFL playoff game day.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. If you never miss a show and you consider yourself an everydayer, we want to invite you to the Everydayer Club. For just $5 a month, you can get an ad-free audio feed of Locked On Angels on your favorite podcast platform. You can get in our members-only Discord server, which has been a whole lot of fun. And you get access to the Locked On Podcast Network national bonus shows like Locked On Sports Today. And if you want more and you want to take it to the next level, go all access with the Everydayer Club All Access tier for $15 a month. You get everything in the $5 tier, plus texting, one-on-one with me, all access episodes of Locked On Angels, a newsletter version of each day's show, and so much more. So if you want to sign up, jump into lockedonangels.supercast.com and be part of the Everydayer Club.
Now, we discussed how the Angels reacted to their lack of power in 2024, and we've detailed how they're now reacting to their lack of contact last season and their too many strikeouts last season so far this offseason. And here's the problem with that. The Angels aren't building towards an identity. They're reacting to the loudest pain points from the previous season. And this is a big reason why the Angels are in this perpetual cycle that they're constantly in, right? And again, that also includes pitching, not spending, injuries, and Arte Moreno, and all of that.
That's all over this conversation, yes. But this one area we want to address is how they are operating this offseason.
They're just constantly doing the same thing because they're reacting and they're reacting. It's one thing to address the issues with your hitting by bringing in players who are going to help with those issues. But the Angels, they're doing it with reclamation projects.
Yeah.
They're doing it on the cheap. And here's the truth. The Angels really don't know who they are. They don't know who they are. It's why we call it Socia ball when Socia was here, right? Like, and
Yeah.
when we see bunting and stolen bases and those things, it's why we call it Socia ball, because that was the identity, right? Like that.
When you hear Socia ball, you know exactly what you mean or what an Angel fan means. Yeah.
When you see the constant hitting, you see that they're using the whole field. You see them bunting runners over. They're stealing bags. They're causing chaos that they didn't cause on the base path last year that they said they were going to cause, right?
I'd even say, like, when you hear the term these days, guards ball for the Guardians, it's very similar to that. Mike,
Yes.
I think the Guardians had a collective, like, 84 weighted runs created plus. And so this past season, but they made the playoffs and they, went on some incredible runs there at the end to get back into the fight. But it's kind of the same thing. They're creating chaos on the base paths. They're putting the ball down. They're doing all that stuff. The Blue Jays are super fun to watch, especially in that World Series where they just put the ball in play and they're pesky and annoying and all of that kind of stuff.
And when you talk about those teams, there is a specific identity or philosophy that you could say, oh, here's what they're doing. They're doing exactly this, right?
Yeah.
And when you don't have a philosophy, then really what dictates who you are and what you do is your biggest problem. And you just choose to solve that problem. And that's not a plan, John. That's just a reaction to where you sucked last year, right?
Well, and if you look, there's a pattern happening, right? There's, the Angels look back and they go, well, where did we go wrong last year? Oh, you know what? Slugging. So let's bring in a slugger. And now this past year, we didn't make a lot of contact. We certainly struck out a lot and we hit a bunch of home runs, but let's bring in some contact guys, some low whiff rate guys. They're following this pattern of they find the biggest issue from last year. They attack. They go after it. And then they ignore how that fix affects everything else. And you end up fixing one problem by creating another, which is what you alluded to earlier when you have these guys who, they'll put the ball in play, but it kind of spells more problems. And the question is whether or not the Angels finally know what kind of offense they're trying to build, or if this is just another reaction. Now, throughout his tenure, Perry Minasian's, we've seen the emphasis on power, and we see that in the slugging percentage, the OPS numbers, and then 2024 wasn't great, and so they try to address that. But we've also seen that despite their record in 2024, that season, they were a much more even team. Like I mentioned, they were 12th in walk rate and 19th in strikeout rate and 12th in stolen bases. So it wasn't as if they were, way up here in one area and way down here in another. It was all bad, right? And that has a lot to do with who's on the team and who was injured and who's developing, right? And that was the first season for Nolan Shawneewell, the first full season, that kind of thing. And so, yes, there's going to be some growing pains there, and that's what happened in 2024. But it wasn't as if they put all of their, eggs in one basket like they did in 2025 with the power and the slugging and the home runs and the all or nothing approach. So I think the question at this point, Mike, what will the team be this year? Will it be the guys from last year continuing to be the all or nothing hitters? They're trying to hit home runs. They're swinging for the fences while the new guys are the contact guys. Or are we the ones being reactionary, you and me? And will the whole lineup fundamentally change under Brady Anderson's coaching and maybe Kurt Suzuki's direction? Are the guys from last year going to stay the same while the new guys bring their low whiff rate? Or is everybody going to change in this 1 through 9? What do you think?
Here's what history teaches us. There is a philosophy from the top down, from the Perry Minasian leadership room.
Whether you like it or not, that's the philosophy that gets implemented. It comes from the top down. Yes.
And the philosophy has been power, and more power. Like, we want to hit home runs, and we want to have exit velo, and we want to have all of that. So, I mean, as much as I want it to change, history tells me that it won't. And you've pointed this out. The previous hitting coach before Johnny Washington and who was before Johnny Washington? Marcus Timms. Even before Marcus Timms, the hitting coach before him, Jeremy Reed. He was more of a contact guy. He was more of a let's spray the ball around. But then when Perry took over, things changed.
Yeah.
And power went up, strikeouts went up. Now, they had some good players who were going to hit home runs and not strike out as much. And so that's why those numbers weren't as ridiculous as they were last season. But Jon, last season, I think the reason why the numbers were so terrible is because you have a lot of young guys who really want to prove themselves. You have a lot of young guys who want to earn that contract. You have a lot of young guys who really want to win, and they want to be coachable with O'Hoppe and Neto, Shonowell and Adell and the rest, right? And so they're going to do whatever the coaching is going to tell them to do. History tells me that things aren't going to change. History tells me with Perry Minasian in charge, that philosophy isn't going to change much. Now, could we discuss 1 year left on his contract, 1 year left on Kurt's contract? Could we discuss those things in the impact? Sure. But history with the Angels, it matters because what they've done, they continue to do, even outside of their offensive approach. How they try to improve this team. They try to improve this team the same freaking way every single year.
Yeah.
And we're like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Right. And even when we talk about pie in the sky guys like Bo Bichette or reasonable signings like Zach Littell or whoever it might be, right? People, everydayers will go, yeah, but they're not doing that. And we're like, I understand that. We're trying to fit our minds into the Angels' philosophy. And quite frankly, full disclosure, very candidly, I would say to you, I don't see anything changing. If something changes, Jon, I will be pleasantly and excitedly surprised about what the offense might look like in 2026. If they go along the lines of more sociable, and we call it Suzuki Ball, right? Like if they go along those lines, great. But history says it's going to be the same thing, but just different names, different players.
No matter what it looks like, we have to call it Suzuki Ball because that's just an awesome name. Mike, here's what I'm concerned with is that the philosophy not changing, the philosophy staying the same, means that either you have the guys from last season still doing what they were doing, right? But you have the contact guys coming in and trying to, up that walk rate, lower that K rate, all that stuff. My concern is what's stopping them, especially from the front office philosophy perspective, of trying to turn a Vaughn Grissom or a Nick Madrigal into an all or nothing home run guy who swings for the fences and strikes out. Like, what if the good qualities that we just discussed that they have, because they are good qualities.
Yeah.
And yes, they are reclamation projects. They're doing it on the cheap, but the qualities they have are good.
Yeah.
Well, what if the Angels make them, fit in this box and you got to do it this way, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Remember Squid, Andrew Velasquez? We get so frustrated with him. We're like, dude, you're not Barry Bonds. Stop swinging for the fences. Just because you hit one home run on Saturday night doesn't mean that on Sunday you need to keep swinging for the fences.
Right. And maybe that wasn't even Squid's fault.
And that's exactly my point.
Yeah.
Now looking back, I'm like, hey, Andrew, so sorry, bro. Because maybe you were told that's what you need to do. And he was just trying to do what his coaching staff wanted him to do. You need to go up there and swing hard and get that exit velocity. Bro, he's got a pool cue for an at bat, right? Like let him just slap the baseball around the field instead of trying to hit it over the wall. And I would not be surprised if they try to turn these guys into something and make the back of the baseball card look really great.
Right.
They did get new coaches. Yeah. So there is hope there. And Jon, wouldn't it just be such an Angels thing if guys like Logan O'Hoppe, Zach Neto, Nolan Shonowell, and Jo Adell are like, I'm doing my own thing, and I'm going to go up there and do whatever I want. And then they end up having a marvelous season and make their coaches look great. I can see that. I think the Angels players will be good despite the philosophy. I think Logan has a better year this year just overall. I don't think he sinks like he did last year. But I think the Angels players and the Angels stars, the young guys on this team, I think they have a better year this year despite whatever philosophy is brought to the table for them offensively.
Yeah. And just to put a bow on the conversation, it goes back to what we talked to about the players knowing their role, right? We had that conversation a few weeks ago where it's like, here's what you do well, and here's what you aren't. And so stick to the things you do well versus trying to be something that you're not. And we went through the whole lineup and what each person has to offer. Now that lineup probably looks different because it's been a few weeks and they've made some moves and they've added some different players. But what we were trying to get at is don't get away from what makes you good and don't try to be something that you're not. And so the only thing that you can really hang your hat on is the hope that they're going to lean into what these guys do well and do it on an individual basis rather than trying to make everybody look like the same player or follow the same approach.
All right, let's wrap up this conversation. Let's highlight a few things. First, obviously, this offseason has been really, really frustrating.
And it's your fault, Mike.
Yeah, I'll take the blame. It looks like the offseason before 2024 did.
Yeah,
right?
it really
Angels
does.
have only brought in some relief arms and some reclamation projects. And sure, the relief arms were very necessary, but this is not the kind of offseason that we were hoping for. We wanted proven MLB hitters to surround the young talent that the Angels have, just like we needed proven MLB hitters and pitchers to surround Shohei and Trout. And they're just doing the same thing over and over and over again. We wanted established arms to carry the workload of the starting rotation. And yeah, we want some high contact, low whiff guys like the Angels have picked up, but we would rather have Bo Bichette or or Alex Bregman in that world instead of a bunch of reclamation projects because man, they're wishing on a star.
Yeah, those are two guys that do the things that we need. The low whiff rate, the high contact, and yet Bregman's with the Cubs and Bo Bichette probably going to the Phillies. And we're certainly not going to get Arenado because he's now going to the Diamondbacks, right?
Right. And so where does this leave the Angels for 2026? Jon, I think I would love for you to share. We have three possible outcomes.
Yes.
And so I would love for you to share the hopium and the disappointium as you finish out the show.
So here's the thing. I think the best case scenario is that the contact guys that they've brought in, yes, the reclamation projects, yes, they didn't play in the majors last season. What I think happens in the best case scenario is that these guys raise the floor so that the bottom doesn't drop out. Less overall strikeout rate for the team. They're not going to be the worst in baseball, and it's not a very high bar that you have to clear, right? When you're the worst strikeout team in baseball. But there should be some improvement there in the best case scenario. In the best case scenario, you might see more runners being moved over, even in ground out situations, right? I think that you're going to have fewer meaningless or empty innings where nothing happens because everybody's striking out or swinging for the fences. Hopefully, they put up some challenging at bats and make those pitch counts go up for the other team. And that's something I could see Kurt Suzuki emphasizing as a former catcher is making that pitcher work up there. So hopefully these bats that are reclamation projects that didn't play last year, they can contribute to that in some form or fashion. I think that putting the ball in play is always a good thing because it puts pressure on the defense and you don't know how they're going to react. You don't know how they're going to respond. What I hope in the best case scenario is that the entire lineup, not just the contact guys, do a better job of adjusting. You brought up Logan O'Hoppe, and I want to see him make more contact, Mike. I want to see him go the other way. I want to see him adjust his approach with 2 strikes. And so that's something that I hope to see is that, again, these guys that have been brought in, reclamation projects, didn't play last year. I keep saying that because somebody's going to say, well, they're reclamation projects and they didn't play last year. Yes, they're going to raise the floor. And Logan O'Hoppe and the like are going to follow that pattern of, hey, make more contact. Go the other way. Like that's the best case scenario. What about the worst case scenario? I'm going to give you the depressium.
Yeah. Thank you. The contact guys and all those reclamation projects, they provide contact, but without any damage. Like they're grounding out. It's easy outs. It's 1, 2, 3 innings, ground ball to short, ground ball to second base, fly ball to center field, not strikeouts, right? Yeah. They didn't strike out. They went 3 and 2, and then they hit a little weak ground ball to second base. That's probably what the worst case scenario would be for the Angels. The lineup is going to be split in two. There will be established guys trying to hit for power, while the bottom of the lineup are the easy ground out guys. And how many years have we seen that as Angel fans, where you're like, oh yeah, top of lineup, and then when you get past 5, you're like 6, 7, 8, and 9. It's gonna be ugly, right? Like, and then it was always bottom of the 9th, right? And then it's 6, 7, 8, and 9. It's Andrew Velasquez, and it's it's those guys, and you're like, of course it's going to be these guys, right? So the lineup split in two. Bottom of the lineup is the easy ground out guys, and then guys from last year, they just don't adjust. That could be the worst case scenario as well, meaning that they're still trying to have all or nothing at bats because, hey, we've got contact guys now.
Yeah, we've got them,
right? Jo Adell said, I'll do my job, you do your job, so let me swing away, Merrill, swing away.
Now, the third scenario is there's a real problem that emerges, and that problem is that the Angels keep treating this offense like a light switch instead of actually having a plan, having a philosophy. And are they going to build an offensive identity under Suzuki and Brady Anderson, or are they going to hope and pray their reclamation projects just solve all their problems, right? And we brought in contact guys and low whiff. I don't know what happened. I don't know why we, lost 100 games, right? So I think the final question here, Mike, is that when you think about, remember, power was an issue in 2024. They go all in on power in 2025, and it fundamentally changes the whole batting order. And that's, we saw a much more reasonable and good coach version of Johnny Washington in 24 versus 25, where it was power, 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 power. And again, that comes from the top down. So if contact was the issue last year, does the whole batting order do what they did last year and emphasize contact instead of power? Like the whole thing changed last year. Maybe the whole thing, I don't know, changes again in 2026. What do you think?
With Kurt Suzuki at the helm, it feels like Suzuki Ball is coming back, right? It feels like there's more emphasis there. I just need to see it. I just need to see it happen on the field. John, if the first game of the year, they get a runner on and then they steal and then bunt and score a run, I will be on my feet with my arms above my head going, that's amazing, right? Like, because
and then it's got to last longer than 2 weeks.
I want to see that. Yeah, I want to see that. What will also tell me that they're doing this is if the lineup is more balanced. I don't want to see a top-heavy lineup. We talked about it often, but having the number 5 hitter be a reclamation project that you brought in 2025 and Tim Anderson, hopefully he'll figure it out. That was just dumb, and everybody knew it was dumb. Why is he there, right? I want to see the lineup, and I want to see the lineup to where it flexes on the strengths of each of the batters. So I know he's Mike Trout, but you know where he needs to be? He needs to be leading off or batting second, right? Like he needs to be at the top of the lineup. And I know he's Zach Neto, and I know he had leadoff home runs, and that's fun and exciting to lose 5-1 because he had a first inning home run, right? I want him batting third. And so when I see those things, I see the lineup, and then I see it actually happening on the field, that's when I'll go, okay, I'm starting to believe it. What about you?
Yeah, makes sense. And the proof has got to be in the pudding. And we just aren't going to know what this looks like until we start seeing some spring training lineups. We start seeing what these guys look like. And of course, we'll discuss, what our ideal lineups. And we sort of alluded to that with the conversation about knowing your role and doing what you should be doing in that spot. But we'll see what Brady Anderson brings to the table. He's got the 2 hitting coaches with him. Some of these guys have been around the organization for a while. And then Kurt Suzuki, of course, has been in the organization, both as a player and a front office guy. So again, what do you always say? I'm sitting back, I'm folding my arms, and I'm waiting and seeing, because that's really what I think it's going to have to be for 2026.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Join the Everydayer Club and get Locked On Angels with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and so much more. There's 2 tiers. There's a $5 a month tier that's fantastic, and then it gets better with all access, $15 a month. You're going to get one-on-one text access with John and all access episodes and exclusive newsletter, so much more. Go to lockedonangels.supercast.com or click the link in the show notes.
Hey, be sure you give us a follow at Locked On Angels on Twitter, at Super Halo Bros on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok Mike. When we come back on Friday, what do we got on deck?
How about we hear from you, our everydayers? How about Fan Mail Friday for
Yes,
Friday?
sir.
We would love to hear from you. You can either message us, you can comment below if you're watching on YouTube. You can send us a message or comment on our social media, and you can call our voicemail line. Leave us a 30-second voicemail. We'd love to hear the sultry sounds of your voice for Fan Mail Friday, this Friday on Locked On Angels.
All right, I'm really looking forward to that because we haven't been able to do one in a while, and I want to hear from our everydayers. So until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody. All the sickos who love the Angels and all the everydayers who love to watch and listen. We'll see you back here on Friday.
And the bottom drops out.